Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 391 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your producer, Luke Millette, and here is your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Gilles LaMarche, and if you want to understand how to give to the future of chiropractic, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Gilles LaMarche coming in, and I am coming in from Denver, Colorado today. And Dr. Gilles is coming in from the Atlanta area, correct?
That's correct. Live in Marietta, Georgia, same city as the home of Life University.
Yeah, I'm excited because we're going to talk about life at life. I love how that's very linear, makes sense. But before we get into this episode, I'm going to set some big why for people. Why does Chiro Hustle do what we do? Well, we protect free speech in chiropractic. I think it's very, very important as a whole of our culture to protect free speech, but chiropractic is one of those that if we don't do that, then we're not doing our jobs. So we also protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, go and do a search on your favorite search engine and do BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. We do support subluxation-based chiropractors, innate intelligence, and universal intelligence. And that when somebody gets adjusted, it connects them, the physical, to them, the spiritual. And so with that being said, I'm really excited to have this show. It's been a long time coming. Episode 391 of Chiro Hustle podcast. Gilles LaMarche, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure to be with you and to share with your audience today.
Yeah. And, you know, this is probably my most proud moment of our show, which is to be able to share your story and to edify other people and to be able to say, look, your whole college campus is going to listen to this episode. Your friends, your families, your colleagues, your past practice members, your patients, the current people that are in your life are going to hear this. And they might really know you, Dr. Gilles, but they might not know your chiropractic story and how you got to where you are today. So please share with our audience today your chiropractic story and how you got to where you are today as the, is it the vice president of advancement of Life College?
Vice President of University Advancement and Enrollment at Life University.
That's a mouthful. I'm glad you said it.
It's a mouthful. It's a big title. It's a lot of responsibilities, but I'll tell you, I absolutely love it. So I'm good to go maybe for another decade.
So now that we have that established today, where you're at, let's talk about what led you up to where you are today.
Okay, so I'll try to bunch up a 55-year story in a few minutes. But my first encounter with chiropractic was at the age of 12. Had a teacher pull the chair from underneath me as a joke, and injured my back. And 6 months later, after my mom taking me to the doctor, taking aspirin and ice packs and hot baths, all the rest of that stuff, and nothing getting better, somebody one day told my mother, you should take him to a chiropractor. And my mom said, well, what's a chiropractor? Nobody in my family had ever been to a chiropractor. And so off I went to a chiropractor and had a thorough consultation, examination, x-rays, etc., with this gentleman, Dr. Ron Ingard was his name. And then came back the next day for a report of findings. And he talked about what he referred to as a recent subluxation, which was probably the cause of my low back pain. And he talked about other subluxations that he figured had been long lasting. And I remember him asking my mom, did Jill ever get dropped off a change table or fall on his head when he was young or something of sorts? And I remember my mother having a little tear, and she was like, no. But then she started explaining my birth process. So I was a forceps delivery baby. Even when I did have hair, I never had any hair because they tugged on me so hard to get me out of my mom that they damaged the side of my skull. And obviously, unbeknownst to my parents or myself, they also damaged my neck and my upper thoracic spine. Asymptomatic, by the way. And so I don't blame the doctors. They did what they had to do to save me and to save my mom. So thank you. They did a good job on doing that. So here was this doctor, Dr. Ingard, explaining how the spine worked and how the spine actually affected neurological function that then led to physiological dysfunction in many cases. And I'd always been an unwell child, not sick, but just never feeling good. Always indigestion, constipation, issues with my gastrointestinal tract. And so he started relating my spinal subluxations to the nerve roots of the stomach and the bowel. And he explained that, once this was corrected, chances were, he didn't guarantee anything, but chances were that my physiology would normalize and I wouldn't have any of these symptoms anymore. And I went, yeah, right. That guy's a joker, right? I didn't believe anything he said. Now, I was hopeful he was going to help me get rid of my back pain because nobody had been able to help me with that. But on the other aspects of my health, since I had that since I was born, I was like, yeah, whatever. So my mom agreed to have me start care, and this doc started adjusting me. Within a few short weeks, my back pain was gone. Within, I think, like 6 to 8 weeks, my normal physiology was restored. So I tell people all the time, you don't have to believe. When somebody said, well, I don't believe in chiropractic, I said, well, don't worry, I didn't believe in chiropractic. And I was getting adjusted. And I didn't believe this guy was going to be able to do anything for me because it was so foreign, the concept that he was sharing, though we know to be true physiological facts, true anatomical facts, how the nervous system actually, gives the power to all organic systems. But I got well. And I remember age 12, shaking his hand one day and said to him, when I'm big, I'm going to be like you. And I made that conscious decision right there that I was going to help people that way. And of course, I went on to finish high school, went to undergrad, went to chiropractic college in Toronto. But he had said to me, he said, promise me that before you graduate, you're going to go to a Parker seminar. And I said to him, well, what's a Parker seminar? I'm talking about the Parker seminars of the old days, not what they are today, in my opinion. But the Parker seminars that were run by Dr. Jim Parker, he said, that's where they're going to teach you to be successful. And I said, aren't they going to teach me that in school? He said, no, that's not the school's job. The school's job is to teach you everything you need to learn to pass your board exams and to get a license. He says, your job is to learn to become successful. I went, okay. So as I said, off I went, finished high school, undergrad, went to chiropractic school. When I was in junior at CMCC, I saw an ad for a Parker seminar that was going to be hosted in New York City, 1977, before you were born. And so I ended up going with 5 other buddies. I think got 6 guys jumped into a car. That's before seat belts and all that stuff. So 6 guys in a car, 6 guys in a hotel room with 2 beds, the way students do things. And on the first day, Dr. Parker used to speak for 3 or 3.5 hours on the first day. He was the only speaker. I think he would start like at 3:30 in the afternoon and he would go till like 7 o'clock at night. And I sat sort of more in the back because I'd never been there. There was like 3,000 people there. People were cheering. They were going crazy when he got introduced. And I could barely understand a thing he said because he spoke with a really, really thick Texan accent. And back then I used to still talk with a really heavy French accent. So I did not understand English that good. And I had trouble understanding what he was saying. But I did hear one thing, that he invited everybody to go visit him in his suite that night. And I thought, wow, but there's 3,000 people here. Like, how is everybody going to get in there? So out of curiosity, I decided to go up to the penthouse suite when my 5 other buddies decided they were going to go out of town in New York City and go party. It was like, I don't want to go there. He's never going to be able to get in anyway. And we're in New York. Let's just go party. So I said, well, I came here to learn. So I'm just going to go up and maybe I'll get in. Maybe I won't get in, but at least I'll go peek. Because President Reagan had stayed in that room the weekend before. So I really wanted to see what that looked like. So off I went to the suite. And I got there and the doors were wide open and there was very few people in the suite, maybe 20, 30 people in this huge, beautiful hotel suite. And one gentleman walked up to me and said, come on in, come on in. So he says to me, where do you practice? I said, I don't practice, I'm a student. He was like, oh my gosh, come with me. He said, Dr. Jim loves students. So I got introduced to Dr. Jim. I met all of his pals of the day, which are what he called his Parker Associate Lecturers. So he called them pals. But the gentleman that had escorted me in was Dr. Richard Yenny. Dr. Yenny practiced in Kansas City, Missouri for I think over 60 years. He's since passed. But through the evening, and I stayed there like all night till like probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Dr. Jim had a very weird ritual lifestyle. He usually got up around noon, but rarely went to bed before 4 a.m. So I stayed there very, very late talking with these, big time docs. I didn't know any of these names, but I heard the stories. So I was listening, trying to learn. And during the evening, somebody said to me, so tell me your chiropractic story. That was Dr. Richard Yenny. exactly what I just shared with you and your audience right now, how I went to my first chiropractor and why and how I got well. And he says, well, that's beautiful. You need to learn to tell that to everybody. You need to tell the story to everybody. And I was like, no, you don't understand me. I don't think I could do that. I don't speak English too good there. And I said, there's no way I could do that. I am like way too shy. And you know me, hard to believe that I used to be shy, but I was extremely shy back then. And then he looked at me with his very stern eyes. For anybody listening who knew Dr. Richard Yenny, he wasn't a big man, but boy, he was a big man. Like, he wasn't big physically, but he had a big spirit. And when he talked to you, listened. And he stuck his index into my chest and he said, what gives you the right to know a truth and not share it? And I was stunned. I mean, I only met that guy a couple hours ago, and there he was poking me in the chest, like really hard, like painfully hard. And I stood there, like, I think almost in shock, and I didn't answer him. So he did what Richard would do, and he did it again. And it was on the third or fourth time that he poked me like that in the chest that I said, oh, nothing gives me the right to know the truth and not share it. He said, that's right, young man. So then I looked at him, I said, so how do I do that? Like, how am I going to do that? He said to me, when you go back to Toronto, you join a Toastmasters club, you learn to speak in public. They will teach you, how to do diction exercises. You'll be able to eliminate your French accent and speak English so people can hear you when you're speaking English. And lo and behold, you'll be able to tell the story in French too to your French clients or your French part of your community. So I listened to him. And when I got back to Toronto, I joined the Toastmasters club. And I started watching Dan Rather on the news because I was told that he was the best enunciator to teach me the English language. So I started over enunciating every single word that I would say in English. I would like overpower my mouth and over enunciate. And within a couple of years, my French accent, I probably still had a Canadian accent, but my French accent was completely gone. And so I went on to tell the story. Obviously, I graduated and I followed Dr. Jim's protocols on how to get to my community. Back in the day, it was get out there, meet people, shake hands, whip out your business cards. And I'll tell you, it still works today. I know that young folks don't want to do it, but the best way, we're in the people business. And the best way to build a people business is to go out and meet people, shake people's hands, let them know who you are. And I didn't go at it hard. I didn't tell the chiropractic story when I first met people in this town where I started my practice and stayed for 5 years, because I wasn't from that town where I started. I went there because they were looking for a French-speaking chiropractor. So I walked around town while my build-out was going on, and I'd introduce myself, something simple as, hi, I'm Dr. Gilles LaMarche. I'm the new chiropractor in town. If you saw construction going on at the corner of 10th Street and George Street, I said, that's my new office that's going to be there. And here's my card. If I can ever help you or someone in your family, I'd be happy to help you. And, for the next 90 days or so, I don't really have a lot to do. I'm new in town. So if I can serve you in any way, let me know. I'll be happy to help. And so I did that. And Jim had said to me, and so did Robert Griffin. Robert Griffin was one of those pals, and he practiced in Fort Worth, Texas. And he was the guy who always talked about whip out cards. He said to me, when you go to the printer, you place a card order for 5,000 cards. And of course, my first thought, like many probably listening in today are going to go, well, those will last me for like the lifetime of my practice. He said, no. You need to pass those out in your first 12 months. I was like, oh my gosh, 5,000 cards in a year? He said, yeah, think about it. It's not that many cards. It's less than 100 cards a week. I was like, he's right. Not that many cards, less than 100 cards a week. So it's like 14 cards a day kind of idea. So I went out. I ordered 5,000 business cards, even though the printer told me I was crazy. That would be way too much money. And I don't know what it cost back in the day. It wasn't that expensive, maybe $600 maybe. And you can get them today on Vistaprint. You can get them at a really decent rate. So I made a commitment to hand out 100 cards a week. I was 14 cards a day. And if I missed a day, then I had to work harder on Saturday and Sunday to catch up. And I handed out 5,000 business cards my first year in practice. Wow. Now, I will tell you that I saw over 200 new patients my first month in practice. I saw over 1,200 my first year in practice. And Jim had said, if you want to build a thriving practice that becomes a referral practice, right? Because I had no marketing. I did no marketing. I was the marketer of my practice. He said, you've got to build 200 to 250 fans that he called ambassadors. And you've got to be able to deliver the goods, right? If you accept them as a new patient, you teach them about chiropractic. You made sure they follow through their care. You have a care plan that's reasonable that they can follow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and go through all these phases. He said, when they get well, they would become ambassadors. And often before they get well, just because you took such good care of them, they'll become ambassadors and they will build your practice. And I will tell you, it's exactly what I did. I bought one opening announcement and built this huge practice. I was seeing over 800 a week within my first 12 months of practice. But I saw over 1,200 new patients my first year. And I delivered the goods. I was a great adjuster. I became a great communicator. Everything in my office was super professional. Everybody left with a written care plan. Remember back in the day, that was just the beginning of a word processor. Before that, it was typing. So I had an assistant that would have to do 2 or 3 page care plan with inserted sheets, educational sheets, etc. But they left with that plan. And I bought myself a binding machine, a spiral binding machine. So they would leave with a beautiful, customized LaMarche Family Chiropractic cover. The back cover had all our info for the office, and that was bound. They would leave with that. It was impressive back in the day that we could do something like that. So I made sure that my team and I bought into this process of delivering service at the level that you would expect if you went to a Ritz-Carlton, or if you went to a Mercedes or Audi dealer, for example. Like, what kind of service are they going to give you? And there I was in a small town of 5,000 people, delivering service that way and dressing the way that I believe that a successful individual should dress. I had met a gentleman by the name of John Malloy, who'd written a book, Dress for Success. And what I remember at that Parker seminar back in the day was, he said, this is what I remember him saying: be as well-dressed as your best-dressed client or the one you want to attract. So I was always dressed up in town, shirt, tie. I wore a shirt and tie in my practice every day. And I know that one of our friends, Billy D, to this day still does that, right? That's how I dressed in my practice for 25 years. So, off I went. And I practiced there for 5 years. I left there, moved back to my hometown, did exactly the same thing, handed out a business card, met a bunch of people, built another huge practice. And I was in that practice for 20 years until I got diagnosed in 2003 with primary pulmonary hypertension and a secondary diagnosis of cardiomegaly measured at 2.5. And I was told that I had less than 2 years to live unless I had a double lung and heart transplant. And so I reviewed what that looks like, a double lung and heart transplant recipient, after reading about the condition and understanding that obviously the doctor that I had seen was right. My symptoms were shortness of breath, like I had just run, a 10-miler. And I could barely breathe. It got to where I could barely breathe while I was adjusting my patients. And so I looked at all that information and I came to the conscious decision that that was so outside my paradigm of health and healing that I made the conscious decision to retire from practice. And I went home on the 14th of April in 2004 to do my final preparations for transitioning. I knew I was going to die. I had succumbed. A guy who had not taken any medication since the age of 12, after I discovered chiropractic. I'd never had a Tylenol, an aspirin, nothing. But during that 6 months or so from my diagnosis to my retirement, actually about 8 months, I succumbed to the half-hourly use of Ventolin while I was in practice. Every 30 minutes, I would do 2 or 3 puffs of inhaler, take a deep breath to allow me to breathe enough to take care of the next group of patients, practice members that were with me. So I don't use the term patients and practice member interchangeably. For me, a practice member was someone, after they had been a patient, chose chiropractic for a lifetime. So until they chose chiropractic for a lifetime, they're patients. So if you hear me use the words, they're not really interchangeable in my vocabulary. But once they choose lifetime care, they became practice members. So anyway, I went home on the 14th of April to do my final preparation for my transition, which I figured was coming pretty quickly. According to the MDs, I had maybe another 6 months to live by then. And on the 15th of May, 31 days later, I woke up and the first thought in my head, and I won't repeat the exact word because it's not a nice word, but it was like, you're a beep beep idiot. You've been preaching the chiropractic paradigm of health and healing for 25 years. There must be something seriously wrong with your spine and nervous system. And then I thought, well, how could there be? I get checked by a chiropractor every week or two. And then the third thought is what awakened me. Oh, never by the same chiropractor, just buddies. So I realized in that moment, I was still laying in bed, I realized in that moment, I had not been a practice member of any practice since I left home to go to undergrad. I would just be checked and adjusted by friends. I didn't have regular appointments. I hadn't had a reevaluation or an evaluation of my spine and nervous system in decades. I hadn't had an x-ray of my spine in 25 years or more. I mean, it was crazy. All the thoughts that went through my brain. I was like, how stupid can you be? You teach this to other people. You provide them high quality care, and you don't even ask for high quality care yourself. And I'll tell you, I am not the only chiropractor. There's a lot of people who are listening in right now are going, I don't have a regular chiropractor either. So I tell chiropractors all the time, in that moment, I reached over, I called my former office manager. I made an appointment to go in as a new patient. And I said, I want to do everything that we do for our new patients that we used to do when I was there. Fill out the paperwork, thorough consultation, thorough examination, x-rays, subluxation, station nerve scan. I mean, everything that we did for our new patients that these docs that bought my office are doing, I want them to do for me. And at first, my former office manager said, but you've been under care for since you're 12. And I said, Janet, where am I a practice member? And I remember her just be silent on the phone. She was like, oh my gosh, Gilles, nowhere. I said, exactly. So anyway, I went in there, had all that done. We discovered when we did the report of findings the following day that my spine looked pretty good, except from C7 to T4, my spine was a complete mess. For those who care, my pulmonary pressure had been measured at 57 millimeters mercury of pressure. The normal is 15, means it was almost 4 times greater than it should be, right? Pressure moving from my lungs into the right side of my heart. It had caused my body to adapt because our body has this amazing ability to adapt. Innate intelligence is brilliant. What did it do to adapt? It caused my heart to grow. And during all that time, I had 0 symptoms until my heart grew to 2.5 times its normal size. There was no more room for my heart to expand within my chest cavity. And that's when my symptoms started, which means I'd probably have the problem for 10, 15 years, maybe longer. Who knows? I'm not that big of a guy, and I was adjusting a lot of people every day. So I believe that I micro-traumatized my spine, which is why I was asymptomatic on the musculoskeletal level, but I certainly was symptomatic on the cardiorespiratory level. So I started getting adjusted every day, and I got adjusted every day for at least 3 months. By the end of August, 5 days a week. So 5 days a week, go in, get checked, get adjusted. Next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8. I was in week probably 9 or 10 when I said, I'm actually getting better. I was able to go up the stairs at home and not have to stop midway. By 12 weeks, I definitely knew I was improving big time. Went back to the cardiologist for my quarterly visit. My pulmonary pressure had dropped to 27. So you're talking about more than a 50% improvement in 90 days, 3 months of chiropractic care, daily care. Somebody said, well, that's a lot of visits, 60 something visits. I said, compared to what? What's 60 visits compared to being dead? It's nothing. And within 1 year, my pulmonary pressure was normal. Within 2 years, I no longer had cardiomegaly. So my heart went back to its normal size when the back pressure was no longer there. Why? Because innate intelligence allows you to adapt. My body adapted. And I've done this publicly a few times right now, but I am currently training to qualify for the World Championship Masters Track and Field meet in the 400 meters that will be held in May of 2023. May of 2023 will be the 20th anniversary of my terminal diagnosis. So I've gone from being told I was going to be dead in May of 2003, and I'm now training with a professional coach, and he believes he can have me ready for the 2023 World Championship.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority podcast training, Mango Voice, community healthcare resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle. People always want to talk about the chiropractic lifestyle. They want to talk about, innate intelligence. They want to talk about how did you get to where you are today. And I believe that you're an ambassador for this profession. And the message that you share is going to inspire. It's going to land on other people's lives. It's going to be something that's timeless. And, it's something that people are in the chiropractic space. I talk about this a lot, with chiropractors not getting checked and adjusted and under consistent care, but they want everybody else to do as they say. And I think that, like Benny Matthews here saying, you're a living legend, and Roberto Monaco, two amazing people. Candace Brady, she was messaging earlier, talking about how we're two of her favorite people. And, the thing is when you live on purpose, like what you're doing, you can inspire more. And I know you work tirelessly at Life College. So I would really like you to talk a little bit about how you're making an impact at Life University and some of the things that you do. And, I know that you just organized the 5K run at Life. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So I'm going to, with honor, accept your title of ambassador of chiropractic, because I do see myself as ambassador, and certainly how I can bring, chiropractic to the profession at a stronger level, but also bring it to the world at a higher level. And I do that, wherever I'm asked, whenever I can. I'm certainly doing that. I do it every single day. And I now am living a true chiropractic lifestyle. I was in my chiropractor's office today and got checked, got adjusted. I was there last Tuesday. Once a week, I'm in there, I get checked. And when I came to Life University, I got recruited to go to Life University in 2013. I started there in October 2013, originally as the Vice President of Professional Relations. And my title has then grown to add a couple other Vice President verticals, because I'm in charge of advancement/development, which includes alumni, post-grad, fundraising, et cetera. And now also in charge of all of enrollment, from recruiting to the time a student matriculates in any one of our 21 degree programs. And I love it. And what I've done there is really build a great team around me, because single person can't do all of that, but a great team can do all of that. And my job really is to keep them inspired so that we accomplish great things. And I've lived, for decades in that paradigm. But since I discovered that I wasn't really fully living it, I committed to that. So I said, I'm in a chiropractor's office every single week. I mean, I've been checked by some of the greats. Dr. Roy Sweat checked me before he passed. A couple of years ago, I was going to see Roy and his son, Matt, have done a great job in the upper cervical part of my spine. And I started hosting 5K runs at Life. The first one was the winter of 2014. And we hosted as a late afternoon start. It's called Run the Lights of Life, because at Life University, we light up the entire campus with like 1.5 million LED lights from Thanksgiving until New Year's Eve. So this is a 4:30 start. And we built it up that we max out our enrollment for the run at 800 runners. And this past Saturday, I hosted another one with the help again of volunteer students, volunteer faculty who actually helped me with that. But I spearheaded. And we call that one Spring into Life 5K. Holy shit. And one of the greatest experiences I had this weekend was chatting with a gentleman who had never run at one of our other runs, but who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 15 years ago and started paying greater attention to his lifestyle 7 years ago. And he was telling me on the weekend that he had run now more than 350 5K races that he's actually competed in. He was 61, in great shape. So I use that to, I use the runs to promote our lifestyle, to promote that vitalistic philosophy of healthcare, because I'm always, I always take a few minutes to chat with everybody from the microphone before the race starts, and thanking them to come to Life. So that's what I've been doing. And obviously, I do a lot more than host a run or two, but we host Life Leadership Weekends 4 times a year for any student who's interested in a chiropractic career. They come to Life University, experience Life University for 2 days, hear from our president, hear from me, hear from some of our faculty, get to tour the institution, understand the philosophy, and we don't try to sell them anything. Our belief is that if you want to be a chiropractor, if you're sure you want to be a chiropractor and you come to Life University, you'll be sure that you want to come to Life, or you'll be sure you don't want to come to Life. Because if you're looking for a mechanistic education only, Life's not the place for them. So we host that 4 times a year. And we know that the people who come who are truly interested in being vitalistic, principled chiropractors, if they like what we show, they will choose to apply. If they don't, we let them go with love. That's not a problem. We host something similar for our undergrads twice a year, because we do have 21 degree programs at Life University now. 3 of them are masters, our DC, and the others are associates and bachelor's degree. But we host something very similar. It's a 1-day event rather than a 2-day event. And we do talk about vitalistic health and vitalistic philosophy for health and healing. So everyone that comes to Life University, as they matriculate, whether they're taking a course in sports health science, positive psychology, nutrition, dietetics, computer science, bachelor's in biology, will leave understanding vitalism and how powerful that is, which is why a lot of our undergrad students come for an undergrad degree and stay to become chiropractors. They get turned on to the lifestyle and what they could do with it. So we do that, like I said, the undergrad part twice a year. We also do a Master Your Life program for those who are interested in the 3 master's degree programs that we currently have, which is positive psychology, sports health science, and nutrition. And so a big part of my work there. Another part is to support our alumni department, to support our postgraduate education department, put on the Life Vision Extravaganza event that we host every year that I've invited you to attend this year at the end of September. I was told by my director of postgrad today that we have 976 people already registered. The event's happening September 28th to October 2nd. Already have 978 docs, not people, docs registered. Not the docs are people, I get it, but for, depending on the seminar you go to, many invite chiropractic assistants and spouses to attend. Our event is a CE-based event, so it's doctors only. And the largest that we've had was in 2019, where we had 1,756 chiropractors come to that event. And now that we're already at 978, and we're just, finishing the month of May, we got June, July, August, September, 4 months left to go. I'm sure we're going to hit the 1,500. So that's an event that I put on again with a great team of individuals who are all involved in putting this on to bring the best postgraduate education possible to our chiropractic colleagues. And then the other area that I'm intricately involved with, I'm still involved on the professional relations side, which is very community-based, connecting Life University with the community, connecting the community with Life University, very visible as it relates to LifeU, and also on the advancement side, which is fundraising for the institution. And a couple of our big initiatives that have been very successful in the past few years is our Founders Month of Giving for Research. So we launch a giving month for the entire month of September around chiropractic's birthday of September 18th, 1895. And my goal is to bring that fundraising event up to the point where every September we raise in excess of $1 million that goes into our research, which is 100% neurologically centered chiropractic research. That's what we do at Life University. You will not read a Life University study that has anything to do with back pain or neck pain or pain in your knee, but you will read about a lot of studies that are being conducted that have to do with neurological function and how brain function affects the rest of the nervous system, and therefore affects people's health. From a current study being done on depression to one being done in conjunction with the Harvard School of Public Health on chiropractic and its value on people with the long haul COVID syndrome. And it's not yet published, but boy, the preliminary results are looking fantastic. And those are the studies that I believe we need to be conducting more of in the chiropractic world, because every chiropractor who's practiced for any length of time anecdotally knows that people under regular chiropractic care have a stronger immune system function. But guess what? You can't even say that publicly because your boards will slap you on the fingers. Why? Because there is no data. There is no empirical data. So we know anecdotally, we know from patients' stories, we know from the people telling us, Doc, you saved my life. Well, you can't tell anybody out there in the public that you saved people's lives. Why? Because there is no data to actually prove that. And that's where I believe, and I know a lot of chiropractors say, we don't need data, we don't need research. We already know, I know chiropractic works. I'm alive because of it. My practice members knew chiropractic worked because they got healthy. Some of them are alive because of it. But if we're going to truly move in to this 21st century and be super, super strong and really let chiropractic thrive the way chiropractic is meant to thrive and truly impact humanity at a higher than a 10, 12, 14% level, we've got to back up what we see every day in practice with true research. So that's been a big initiative of mine and of Dr. Scott's, our president. Our board has committed $1 million a year. So we have the infrastructure, we've got all the equipment to do all the work. We just need to hire more people. And the best way to do that is to put that out to the profession and have chiropractors make a conscious decision to, make a $100 a month donation, or one adjustment. If your adjustment's $50, make a $50 a month donation. But if we could get 5,000 chiropractors to commit to $100 a month, every month, do the math quickly, it's $6 million. We could put $6 million towards chiropractic research every single year. Think about how that would impact the profession. Think about that, how that would impact humanity. It would be very, very large because we have no outside sources of funding. We have to depend on the profession. There's no outside sources. We don't even qualify to apply for NIH grants. We're not there yet. So, pay attention. Maybe when you see it and you hear about Founders Month of Giving for Research, or maybe do what a doctor did today. A doctor called me today. His name is Dr. Barron, and he said he heard me speak at an event in Nashville. And he called and he made a one-time donation today to Chiropractic Research at Life, and said was going to have a conversation with his team and with his accountant to decide how he can make a monthly donation and inspire other docs to do the same thing. So, I'm not getting on chirohustle to tell you should, but think about it. If you have not donated to research, or you're not doing to research at any institution, chiropractic institution, think about donating to Life. You don't have to be a Life University grad to support chiropractic research that's going on there. And obviously, in New Zealand, Dr. Heidi Havoc has been doing some great research, has opened up the doors to so much with partners in research. And I've been a regular donor to that initiative for years. We've got to put our money where our mouth is and truly serve. So those are the multiple roles that I serve. Obviously, because I serve all those roles, I'm on our facilities committee, I'm on our operations committee with other executives from Life University. So there's not much that goes on at Life that I'm not aware of. So I'm pretty in the thick of things.
Dr. Gilles, it has been quite a pleasure to have you on. Sorry, I've had some technical issues. The room that I'm actually recording in started to flood.
Oh my gosh, so sorry to hear that.
I have been running to find my friend and his wife who own this property to make sure that they're aware of that. I support what you're doing, Life College. Sign me up for the $100 a month. I want to support what you guys are doing, and I wanted to see more research being conducted for the future of chiropractic. And I love your story. And this is the first time ever on Chiro Hustle that my camera was put out by a flood. And that the whole thing has been shut down due to the water is coming through like the ceiling. And
oh my gosh, sorry to hear that. That'll be a bit of a mess, but hopefully it gets cleaned up pretty quick.
Yeah. So I love and appreciate you. If people want to get more information, where can I send them to?
On Life University, just go to life.edu. If someone has an interest in giving, when you go to life.edu, you'll notice at the top right hand in the black bar, there's a button that says give. Click on that. It'll bring you to a giving page. You can choose research. You can make a one-time donation. You can make a monthly contribution through your credit card, whatever you like. And I'll tell you, everyone listening in, no amount is too small. I've had people say, you know what, I don't really have a lot of money, but I could give $10 a month. Then give $10 a month. Give what you can. Because I learned years ago is that the hole you give through is the hole you receive through. So we've got to participate in the process of expanding the chiropractic profession so we can have a bigger impact on humanity. Every one of us who are chiropractors, I believe we were chosen to be chiropractors. And if we were chosen to show up big. We were chosen to hustle every day.
Amen.
And to learn from the greats, right?
Amen.
A lot of them out there. So I'm happy. I have been hustling for chiropractic for 40 plus years. I had a little downtime when I got really ill, but I came back strong. And I can tell you the reason why I'm training every day with a professional track coach and with a trainer in the gym, actually 4 days a week with them, the other days on my own. The reason why I'm doing it is so I can get to that world championship and then tell the chiropractic story from that perspective. Diagnosed and prognosis to die by, diagnosed in 2003, prognosis to die by 2005, to now running a world championship masters track and field event. Wow. I'm not going there to win a gold medal, a bronze medal, or I'm not going there to win any medal. If I do, I do. I don't really care. Because if I win a medal, it will not be for me. It will be for chiropractic. Chiropractic saved my life. I want us to tell that story to more people because there are millions of people out there waiting to hear your story, waiting to hear a story from you. Every single one of you listening in. There's somebody waiting to hear it from you whose lives will be saved when you tell the story. And so I'm doing my part to do that. So when I get invited to share on a podcast, I'm always happy to do it because what I say is that it actually increases the audience that hear the message. It increases my circle of influence. And I will do these pretty much, any day of the week. I did one on Sunday. I didn't do one yesterday. I did one on Sunday. I'll do one at nighttime. I've gotten up at 2 a.m. to do some for Australia and New Zealand. I will share stories of truth. And I will continue to hustle, honestly, until I take my last breath. I am now 67. The president asked me, how long do I think I'll still be wanting to work, or did I have a retirement plan? I said, I have no retirement plan. I could have retired a long time ago. Financially, I've been independent for decades. So I could have retired, but retired of what? Every day I wake up and get the opportunity to do something I love, to do work that matters with people I care about. It doesn't get any better than this. So I am honored to be with you today. Always thrilled to share with chiropractic colleagues from around the globe. And Jim, thank you for all you're doing to bring the message in the forefront so we gain a bigger audience than we've ever had before.
Well, they're doing a cleanup right now, so I'll get you on for part 2. And
okay, brother.
I love you so much, and thank you for sharing out of your heart today.
Love and appreciate you too. Thanks for all you do. God bless.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.